Hey guys, welcome back to Psychic Celluloid Signals.
Woo!
Today is day 2 of the Upstate New York Horror Film Festival, and I slept like 3 hours last night,
Me too!
which is yay. But we're excited. This should be a day packed to the gills, as they say. And we'll be here for most of the day, but unfortunately we will miss a little bit of it because we're headed to the Little Theater to see Halloween. And we're really excited for that.
Oh, yeah.
So this should be a fun day all around. I think they're also doing like I want to say they have someone who's going to be talking about classic horror, I think, today, so that should be interesting to see. I'm curious about what the turnout will be today. Thinking probably more people will show up today.
Yeah.
Being a Saturday and all. But there's definitely a lot more stuff being screened today. And unfortunately, like, there's so much that's going to be screened, we won't even see like half of it. Well, we won't see more than half of it because we'll be missing a little bit, but they'll be screening like 2 rooms with different films like all day. So even though we will see a ton of stuff, there's still a ton more that is being shown here that we won't even be able to get to see. So tons of horror, tons of good stuff to be had, and yeah, we're excited.
We are.
Yeah.
And sleep deprived.
Yes. But I think we're still semi-coherent. We'll see how that goes as the day goes on.
It won't go.
The weekend.
It won't go.
Yeah. So we'll get back to you, and we'll also make a separate video on Halloween.
Yes.
All right. Today we saw a bunch of really interesting short films. So I'll let you read off all the and a couple features. So I'll let you read off all that we did today, and then we'll talk about a few things.
So, for Block 1, we saw Are We the Waiting, Art/Form Trailer, Body Double, Chimera, 16 Minutes, Balloon, Bride of Frankie, Daughter of the Lake, Cleansing, Ghost Squirrel, and Shanda's River for the feature of Block 1. Then Block 2, we saw Disregard the Vampire, Delusion, Deadbed, The El Rastro, Let's Play Dead Girl, Evil Rising, Fortune's Favor, Hell Haunt, Pedestrian, The Pyramid, Ella Bang Bang, and Followers.
And we even got to see
Joey Higgins. I'm sorry, we're gonna butcher your last name. Sorry.
Pelliconi, I believe.
Hope we're getting that right.
Yes.
His classic horror film lecture, which was really good.
Very awesome. He seamlessly juggled dressing up a person as Dracula while giving us a lecture, and not like he wasn't like stopping, or he's very fluid and very knowledgeable. And
he said he wanted to be possibly a professor, was it?
Yeah, and I could see that totally for sure. And he would be an entertaining professor.
Yes, he'd be a favorite. He'd be one that people would be talking about.
Yeah, so I hope you get to that job of being a professor, because you'd definitely be a good one, I think.
Definitely.
So anyway, so on day 2 of the Upstate New York Horror Film Festival, we saw a bunch of these films, and let's talk about some of the ones that kind of stood out to us for one reason or another.
Totally.
I'll let you start off.
All right. So, the first one on our list is Art/Form, which we only saw the trailer for.
Mm.
And to be brief, it looked cool. It looked gory and visceral. We're big, gore hounds, so we love that kind of stuff. It looked like our kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we're excited to hopefully see it at some point.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see where that goes. The next one on our little list of things that just stood out to us for one reason or another was Balloon. And I say it featured a clown that was scarier than the one in the 2017 It. I'm sorry, guys, that I keep ripping on that movie. But
it's okay.
I feel
It'll
bad.
be okay.
But if you were a fan of that, you would really like Balloon.
Yes.
It's about this this girl that was traumatized in the past by like this
Serial killer clown.
yeah, and she's now like afraid of balloons, and she gets like deep into this like desensitization type therapy, and things go really awry.
Really
they
fast.
maybe went about the therapy a bit too fast, so
Yeah.
things go bad, and we'll just leave it at that. If you're interested, you should look into it.
Definitely.
Next one, I'm sure you'll be
Yes.
interested in talking about.
This was hands down one of the best things, in my opinion, one of my favorite things that I've seen so far. Bride of Frankie. It's a charming short that follows well, it's basically Dr. Frankenstein's wife.
Yeah.
Or partner. And Dr. Frankenstein, and they split their names. So I think she was, what was she?
I don't recall, but
Yeah,
at any rate,
Yeah, they did an interesting thing with that. But Victor Frankenstein's off collecting specimens, and he won't be, he claims anyway, back for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And while that's going on, his wife is in the lab creating a partner, a bride for Frankie.
Mm-hmm.
And it works out, kind of,
yeah,
but not quite.
yeah. It's one of the big things I think it gets going for it is like humor. It's
Yes.
very funny.
It's very funny, very sweet, very cute.
Yeah, it's like
It's awe moments.
it's like you're following kind of the lady makes Frankie kind of like a girlfriend or bride,
but then she starts
and he's kind of very like animalistic. He doesn't understand how
so
to.
she teaches him. She's like, no, gentle, this is how you dance.
Yeah.
And then the feelings start to develop between her and the bride. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And also the set design.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And it was shot in black and white, and it looked cool that way. I think it looked right.
Definitely.
It didn't look like, sometimes I see black and white and it feels
Hokey.
Yeah, it just feels like it's not.
Genuine.
It shouldn't be black and white.
Yeah.
But this one looked good that way. I think one thing that was a little bit weird was the little miniature person,
which I think they, not to interrupt, but they called a homunculus. I thought it was more of a nymph. Just saying.
But at any rate, this character has some interesting moments and important scenes. But the one thing that I felt was kind of weird was just the main kind of film, the short film centered around like these Frankenstein creatures, and I was just wondering like there was no backstory on how this little person.
I figured it was just like Dr. Frankenstein's out collecting stuff. This is just one of the things he collected apparently. Like I didn't put much thought behind it.
Yeah,
I just thought she was cute and she worked.
Yeah, it doesn't like if you don't think too much into like what's going on and how is this going on and all that sort of stuff, it's a very fun watch. So that one was definitely worth checking out.
Next one is Daughter of the Lake, which the reason we have it on here is because we were perplexed by it.
Yeah.
It just didn't it didn't make a whole lot of sense. It didn't. There was barely a lake, and it was just a real head scratcher. These people get stranded. Their car breaks down, so they go to this creepy, weird dude's house, and they end up finding out that the person who's gonna come tow their car won't be coming till morning, so they have to stay at this weird guy's place. And apparently it's the sister, who he didn't mention, and she has some weird powers. It's an interesting premise, but
yeah, I felt like there was definitely something interesting that could be done here.
Mhm.
We were just, I think, thrown by the approach,
yeah,
I guess. So, yeah, that was our thought on there. Definitely, the main thing was just, and maybe, I mean, we're sleep deprived. We don't know. We don't know. Maybe it made complete sense.
Tomorrow we're bringing a notepad and pen.
Yeah, and also tomorrow will probably be completely brain dead. So
yeah, two-fisted coffee.
Yeah. So
it's gonna be crazy.
We don't know what's gonna go on, but anyways, let's talk about one of the most amusing shorts that we watched, which was Ghost Squirrel.
So good.
Ghost Squirrel was like this hilarious, like, it felt like it was a kind of spoof on the whole like Bigfoot hunter type people.
Mm-hmm.
It's about this guy. He like he spots like
He's a paranormal investigator.
Yeah, like he spots this like white like ghost squirrel, and they're like looking into it, and it becomes like this big thing. It's like on the news. Like people, there's like news segments.
There's products made.
Yeah, someone made like a book or something, like a children's book.
White supremacist.
And it was like political.
Yeah, but he claimed it wasn't. And
yeah.
He even wrote a song.
It was very like, it was hilarious because the like characters and everyone inside of the story took it very seriously.
Yes.
But the people who made it definitely took it humorously.
Yes.
And it worked. You saw that, and it worked well.
And that was a Canadian film, wasn't it? Shot in Toronto, I want to say.
I think it might have been. And even like all the way, we were especially impressed because I think a lot of times it's really hard to like come up with endings, I think, for any film or any writing or anything like that. And a lot of times like you can get a good idea going really good, and then it's just hard to make an ending. But this one, the ending was even freaking hilarious.
It was perfect.
It was just boom. Yeah, there we go. So we love Ghost Squirrel.
Yes.
Look into that. We highly recommend it. And the feature in this block was Shonda's River, which it was weird to see this like 2 days after seeing Happy Death Day.
Yes.
Because it was very...
A little bit of deja vu.
It was very like... it had like a Groundhog Day thing going on in it as well. Unlike Groundhog Day and Happy Death Day, the Groundhog Day effect is explained, like there's a reason why it's happening, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if that's like a pro or a con.
I liked
really.
it.
I thought it was interesting. I felt like there were some things, we were discussing this, and it felt like things felt like maybe they were going a bit slow throughout the movie.
There was a lot of points where it dragged. We were talking, we thought maybe it would work better, like, instead of, what was it?
Like 80 it was 90 minutes.
Yeah, it was 90 minutes. Thought maybe somewhere between 30 and 40.
Yeah.
20 and 40.
Just like, and even...
Because it was a really cool premise.
Yeah, and it could keep, like, I think it would keep most everything in there.
Yeah.
You could just, like, cut out, like, chunks of things that were, like, maybe redundant. Like, for instance, if you watch, like, the original movie Groundhog Day, things start to get cut out of, like, the subsequent days because you already know how a lot of it's going to go on. So like things like that, you know, like things could have been cut out. I feel that were just like a little bit redundant maybe, or
also the characterization could have been stronger.
Yeah.
We know very little about these characters, including the main character. We know she's a professor, and she is writing a book on witchcraft in earlier times, and how innocent women were persecuted and convicted of witchcraft. She's a professor of women's studies, so that makes sense that she's focusing on that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty much all we know.
Yeah, I felt also the antagonist, the motives could have been not necessarily better, but like more like there's like a strong reason why I need to be the antagonist, and
it could have been a lot.
It could have been a lot more like I need to be the antagonist, because the antagonist didn't need to be the antagonist in her world.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like the reason was kind of brought home.
It didn't pack a punch.
Yeah.
And anything that felt was somewhat convoluted. Like they had a big, in the third act, you know, like they explain it all, and it's I don't know, there was a lot. It was like, and after a while, I wasn't quite sure what was going. I mean, I have a general idea, but it could have been done better.
What did pack a punch was some of the gore at the end.
Yes.
That was and it was like there's a lot of like if I recall correctly, like practical effect type gore, and it was just we really liked that.
Also, the scene where she sleeps with one guy, and she's like, "Fuck it, might as well."
Yeah.
Because why not? I'm gonna die. So
yeah, there were some like things that she did that I thought were kind of, you know, that was cool.
Yeah.
Like she like kills someone.
That was the movie with the cool line, right?
What was the cool line?
Death is a door. Let me open it for you.
Something that
was badass.
Yeah. But yeah, we thought we liked the idea.
Mm-hmm.
We felt like I think either like this could be like you could stay like a feature length film, but I feel like other things would have to be introduced.
Cut the leg, cut the dry wood. Mm-hmm. Expand on the characters.
Yeah, more characterization. I want to know more about like the things that our protagonist did when she was 3, and
spend more time breadcrumbing and the antagonist and their motives instead of just word vomiting it into the last 10 minutes of the film.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll let you talk about the next one.
This one was a trailer for a documentary called Disregard the Vampire. What can I say? I love vampires. I love documentaries, especially, and you know, when they're brought together, even better. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I'm in.
Looks like it'd be very interesting.
Yeah.
And we'll see where that goes.
Definitely.
Next one up, we really loved this one as well. It was one of the shortest ones we saw today.
Mm-hmm.
And it was called Dead Bed.
Yes.
And this was it was just very simple, very like creepy. Nothing is really like explained to you. It's just this creepy thing happens. And it happens and it happens again, and that's that, but it keeps happening like different ways, and it's very weird.
It's very uncanny.
And it almost even felt like it felt like you knew it, like from somewhere. It was very familiar and like ominous, and just it
was so simple too.
Yeah, very simple, but very just effective. I think one of the things that I've noticed is in this film festival is a lot of times simplicity is really like
the key,
a good thing. It's like not always a good thing, but simplicity can be a really good thing.
Yeah.
Especially with a short.
Yes.
Like if you can just make a short really just a simple, just one hard hitting thing that like just does something to the audience, then
I think some of the shorts in this that we've seen that aren't as simplistic falter because of it. Mm-hmm. They have budget limitations, mm-hmm. and they have big ideas, mm-hmm. but because of their budget limitations and their big ideas don't get fully fleshed out, and they fall. Mm-hmm. Some of them fall flat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So it. So yeah, I think that's. It's hard to say much about this short because it's so short that really explaining much anything other than it seems to be some sort of supernatural thing happening.
Yeah, something's not right. Yeah, with those bed sheets.
Yeah, and that's really all you can say about it. But I really recommend it.
Same.
It was one of the most ominous, kind of creepy things that we've seen that like really.
Definitely.
Genuinely felt like it was like creepy.
Yeah, we'll be thinking about it tonight when we lay our heads down for like 3 hours.
Yeah. So let's go on to the next one. Let's play Dead Girl.
This film was obviously inspired by the tragic events that surrounded two young girls inspired by the Slender Man myth who lured another young girl out to this, I think it was an abandoned place out in the woods, and tempted to murder her, sacrifice her. They didn't succeed, thankfully. This film is blatantly inspired by that and follows these two young girls, older than their victim, who lure her into a situation where they're going to sacrifice her to a Slender Man-esque entity that they worship as a god.
Yeah.
And who they've built an internet following around.
Yeah.
The girl they're sacrificing is a fan of their website, and she's completely unaware that they're going to kill her.
Yeah. She's just like this, like, I don't know, like 13-year-old, like, innocent. And it's really weird, and like we found it really one of the creepiest things about the film was they're like these two college age girls, and this 13-year-old has been like hanging out with them, and it's just like that seems very creepy.
Weird. It's weird.
Unless you're like a camp counselor or something, that's weird to or like a relative. That's weird.
Very skeevy about it.
Yeah, it felt very very like an unsettling thing, which was good for it. It was something that had really strong going for it. Had some nice like gore.
Yep.
I think some of the negatives, like some of the like CGI, but that's again like we said, we chalk all that up to it's hard to do stuff like that on a really low budget.
Yeah.
So
what they had wasn't too bad.
No, it wasn't. Like most of the important scenes
were practical.
Yeah. So, and the characters could have felt more like solidly characterized.
The most two-dimensional was the girl whose bedroom we're introduced to.
Yeah.
And who's originally reluctant to sacrifice the girl.
Yeah.
But even then,
it was weird. She even had like a Christian cross in
that was
her
another
room.
thing too. Like the mother of the young girl who's going to be sacrificed, she was also very Christian. You could tell from.
Yeah. So it was like we were wondering, either that mom's very like unobservant, or the daughter like spun some tale about why she was hanging out with these older girls that didn't have anything to do with sacrificing and evil like god things. So there were a few things there that kind of felt like we could have seen a little bit more info on, but we really thought it was an interesting concept, and I thought it was actually like it was cool that like they made something that was kind of like based in a reality type thing.
Definitely.
Because that's a very creepy story.
And it treated it well.
Yeah.
It didn't treat it exploitively. It treated it respectfully, but still scary.
Yeah. So Hell Hunt.
Hell Hunt. This was like, we just loved this one.
Yeah.
The obvious giallo and slasher influences going on here with all the garish colors and over the top everything.
It was like a trippy kaleidoscopic
Phantasmagorical
mishmash of all this stuff. We have no idea what actually happened, but we didn't really care. Like I looked at Tickle and I'm like, I don't know what happened, but I don't care.
Yeah,
because it was
watch it unfold.
Visually, it was very fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if like this would have benefited from knowing what was going on or not.
I rather not.
I don't.
I know there is a narrative, but really, I'm not interested.
Yeah, yeah. It makes me curious, as to what that would look like either way.
I think the narrative was there was just some guy who he was like a stalker or something. That's why, and he wanted to kill the person he was stalking at this attraction where she was starring in this film that they were premiering, and they'd done this whole kind of art installation in the theater for the film, and that's where he kills her, and he takes advantage of that art installation to psych her out. That's what I got.
I see
that. But even then, like, I'm not all that. To me, it was more of like a painting. I don't need like a strict narrative. I kind of just make of it what you will.
Right.
And kind of leave it open ended and just watch it.
So that's Hell Hunt, and there's Pedestrian. This one, I thought was kind of, it was, I felt, and I don't even know if the person who wrote and directed it was thinking about this, but when I watched it for a good majority of the film, I felt like it felt like almost like a metaphor, an allegory for like just kind of burying your problems. But the issue with it is that they don't, like, you can't bury.
Some problems are too big to bury.
Yeah, basically, and they'll come back to haunt you.
You get the sense, like, especially the first character we're introduced who hits another person down this lonely country road. You can tell that she's trying to do just that, bury her problems. You prominently focus on a bottle of, I think it was tequila.
No, it was gin.
I think it was
gin.
New
Amsterdam.
And she looked kind of like she had, obviously that she'd been drinking, that she was kind of emotionally just going through a lot of things and just trying to get away and bury what she was going through. And when she hit the person, she
like immediately grabs the person and
drags them into the woods
and goes to bury this person who's still alive.
Yes.
But
she's like, I don't know what else to do.
She hit the person and didn't even hit and run. She straight up went to bury this person, and I thought on like a surface level of like, if this was just realism straight up, that's a very not
this wasn't meant to be realism. Yeah. Like she says, I don't know what else to do. Like she's just like in an emotional state where she's just like, she can't get out of her own headspace, and she's just like, another problem, just bury,
she like buries and tries to smother her problem.
Yeah.
And it comes back to haunt her tenfold. And it felt like that was like the whole film was like a metaphor for that, but there was like a very little like last little bit at the ending which I didn't like because it kind of took away from that. It like it didn't have anything to do with that.
It was cheap.
Again, like I said, I don't know if the person who wrote or directed this had what we were just talking about in mind. It felt like it to us, I think, a lot, but it could be just one of those.
Surreal.
Yeah, it could just be one of those things that like it's art is open to everyone's interpretation kind of thing. So maybe we're interpreting it different than the artist who made it was, and maybe the ending makes more sense if you don't interpret it the way we did. However, we felt it would be a really cool metaphor save for that little ending. So, definitely still worth checking out, I say.
And lastly
was Pedestrian, and this one...
No, you've already said that.
Oh, okay. Lastly is not Pedestrian, because we already talked about that. Lastly is Followers. This is the second feature we saw, and the last feature we saw today at the Horror Film Festival. This was very... any one of you guys out there who makes your like YouTube videos, who does like social media stuff, you'll find this one very interesting, I think.
Definitely.
It had to do with like a lot of social media and kind of like the concept of your privacy, and do you even have like much privacy really when you're making like YouTube videos and doing things on social media and other platforms. It explored that a lot and in a very interesting way. It's all like shot as if it was like these videos that these YouTubers are shooting for their channel or whatever. But for the most part, save for like there were a couple scenes, for the most part there isn't really all that much like really bad shaky cam that you get for like found footage. There were a couple scenes that there's like this really bad shaky cam, and I was like, that felt very out of place, but overall it was really well shot. And
well acted.
It was very well acted.
And well written for the most part.
Yes. The first act was solid, setting things up, and it was very good at characterizing our two first characters in this film. The second act like does a complete like shift. It like takes this and flips it over and puts you into the scary, like the creepy part of the film.
You got these two dudes who are making a documentary.
Comes in, like it just hits you in the face. And those characters get characterized really well.
They do.
And we see everything. It's kind of interesting because we see the first act in the second act from these characters' perspectives.
Yep.
And it doesn't feel like redundant at all. It very well characterizes these two characters and sets us up for what they're going to do, who they are, and why they make this film as a whole really unsettling for like especially anyone who's doing what we do, going on social media, stuff like that. The third act, we don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah,
I think at this point,
we're conflicted.
Because in one way we felt that we don't want to give away spoilers, but something very like outside of the social media realm happens. Like it felt like it was out of a different type of like horror type film.
Yeah.
I guess that's all I'll say about that, just to avoid like spoiling too much. But we felt like in one way it was it takes you away from what the first two parts were setting up, and what was so creepy about the film. It was so creepy, and I feel like this was actually less creepy, even though like if this was the third act in a film that was this type of film, it would have been creepy, because it was creepy, but it wasn't the creepy that was leading up in the film. So
it was going straight, and then it took veered off.
M. Night Shyamalan, really hardcore. But on the other hand, it was like, I don't know.
It worked better than.
It worked a lot better than it's like if we explained exactly what happened to you guys. it would sound like that shouldn't work at all. But it worked a lot better than it sounds like it does on paper. To the point where I feel like Glenn was a little bit iffy about this one.
I'm not as crazy about that third act and what they did with it. I do see where it did work, and it could have been a lot worse, but it's to me it felt like somewhat of a letdown.
Yeah, myself personally, I felt like it surprised me a lot because it felt like it didn't impact my positive feelings about this film too much. And I even thought this film could have, up until like the very end, still maintained the same direction it was going in if what happened in the third act happened to be some sort of like scheme of one of the kind of nefarious characters from the second act. If that was the case, I feel like it could have worked out really well, and to do that, it wouldn't be too hard to like make that happen.
No.
And I think really the final thing too is like, I don't know if it was like the acting or something, but it didn't seem the same level like some of the characters that were introduced in the third act as to the first and the second.
I think too, again, back to characterization, we know very little about these characters.
Yeah, we didn't. The thing was, we didn't get to know these characters at all, which felt like it would be very important for what these characters were. So not knowing them, I guess, could have made it seem like it was poorly acted. Even though
they also didn't seem like they fit, but they didn't. They just,
it felt like they fit a lot more in that shark cult movie than they fit in this one. It was really weird. I thought about that short that we watched when we got to the end of this. But nevertheless, it was a really interesting piece. We felt that with some like tweaks here and there, this film is like of the quality that I would definitely think it could be in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of these are honestly like. Honestly, I think all of these should be in theaters as opposed to a lot of the crap that's in theaters.
Yes.
Really, even the ones like the people who had like no budget and had to work with like just things that they had around the house to make guts or blood and crap. That stuff looks better than like some of the stuff that some of the blockbuster Hollywood films full of CGI. Personal opinion.
I agree.
Thrown in there, so
we're not
it or leave it.
We're not big on CGI. Practical. No. Way to go.
Not big on CGI. We're not big on the like just make everything bigger and
blow up,
louder and crazier and more and
all the cars speeding down an indefinitely long highway.
Sequels and
prequels.
Yeah. All right, so there's our rant. We're sick of all that sort of crap. We're really happy we're seeing this stuff instead.
Yes.
Even like the flaws, the good, everything. We're just having a lot more fun seeing this than most films we see in theaters these days. So,
definitely.
So kudos to the Upstate New York Horror Film Festival for that. Finally, we saw The Lecture.
Yes.
I'll let you talk about it a little bit because you are the psychic celluloid signal resident expert on this era of horror.
Yeah, totally. I am obsessed with classic horror, if you want to call it that, of the Universal age, Dracula, the Wolfman, the Gillman, the Mummy. I love it all. It's what started me in the horror genre. And I have read a lot of books on the subject, and I know what he covered from point to point to point. And so watching him give the lecture, I was able to be like, yup, that happened, that, yup. And it was just really fun. You know, I was like, wow, someone's just as passionate about this as I am, and knows just as much, and is just as, you know, enthusiastic. I really enjoyed it. Like we already mentioned, this guy, he was right on point. He seamlessly did the makeup and talked, and there was no awkward pauses.
Yeah.
He was perfectly comfortable with what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
We could totally see him as a professor.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought even like when he did the Q&A and he was asked the question about the new Mummy film, which he hadn't seen, he was still able to give like an intelligent and like
he hadn't even seen
coherent answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hadn't seen it, but he knew about it, and he wasn't like, it didn't take him a while to like come up with something to say. Or
it was cool that he was a young guy like us.
Yeah.
You know, most horror fans we know who are our age, if it wasn't made in the 80s or later, they're not interested.
Right.
They could care less.
Right.
The classic horror community is relatively small community within the horror community, and is growing smaller because it's mostly made up of middle-aged elderly people who grew up seeing these films in like Shock Theater and the original Shock Theater package, and many of them are baby boomers, and you know, they're dying, and it's growing smaller. So it's cool to see people our age carrying the torch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think also to speak to the kind of more modern horror end of it, he did like tie stuff back. Like he explained, like for instance, he was talking about Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and he's like, has anyone seen the Babadook? And it's like, yeah, you'll see there's lots of influence in that film among other films that were influenced by that, and he's talking about how the Universal monsters are starting to get like a reboot, if you will, and that it's kind of similar to all these other like universes, but the Universal monster universe was like the first. So yeah, that was very cool. So we had an awesome time at the film festival, day 2. We're really excited to see the last day.
And it's been a wild ride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're sad that we missed the DVD release party, but we did ask PJ Souls. We saw her tonight. She was the associate producer.
Associate producer
for Clown House.
Yep.
And
Clown Motel.
Clown Motel rather. And that was one of the films. So yeah, we got a little info on that, and we were very certain that was a question that she'd never been asked before.
No.
But it was cool. Yeah, she basically said that she like funded it.
Yeah, she had supported it on Kickstarter.
Yeah, she said she like really, she felt like she saw something in it, you know.
Yeah.
Worth
contributing to.
Yeah.
Making happen.
Yeah, so we're really excited to see that.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you to Rob and everyone else who helped put on this festival. It's been wonderful.
Yeah. I think with that we should go sleep. So
yeah,
keep it psychic and keep it real, guys.